Hello, everybody. Greetings. Hello.
Give me a minute.
Great, lots of people coming in. Welcome to the meeting. Should be a good one today. Hope it's okay that there's a waiting room. Trying to prevent Zoom bombing. So far that hasn't happened, but I've heard of other situations where it's happened, so better safe than sorry. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes while everybody comes in, and we're getting a great turnout already, 12 people. Anyone want to talk, make small talk? How's everyone doing? Staying safe? Healthy?
Sure.
Yeah. Has anyone been personally touched by COVID in the sense that know people that have gotten ill?
Yes,
Yes.
I know 9 people that have become ill.
Oh no. How are they doing?
My friend in Anchorage spent 72 days in the hospital. He's
Oh,
still not
my.
doing very well.
Oh, but he's out of the hospital?
Yeah, he is now. Yeah. And family friend in Salt Lake, her entire family, baby, 3-year-old, 7-year-old, 9-year-old, and 3 adults were all ill.
Wow. So it's like it just attacks the entire household.
It did then, yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like it is really contagious. But yeah, I mean, it's anybody, I mean, I don't know anybody personally that's had it, but I've definitely seen a lot of things on social media and of course the news. You know, it's definitely real, but I guess some people, if they don't haven't personally encountered it, then they think it's a hoax. So anyway, sorry, I just realized there might be some more people. No, nobody else has joined. Everyone was like really prompt. Any more, anyone else want to talk about anything before we kind of start the meeting? No, let's see. And I'm seeing some new faces. Daniel, good to see you. I think I've seen you were on previous meetings, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay,
yes.
at least one.
Yeah.
Jim, I met you by phone and you were at the last meeting. Thank you for joining. Jim is a longtime member of the Kearns Neighborhood Association up until a couple years ago. And I'm glad to see you back in this.
Thanks.
Let's see, Susan, I think you were at the last meeting.
Right.
April, have you been at meetings before?
Only one before to present on behalf of the Bureau of Environmental Services, so that's why I'm here tonight.
Oh, great. Yeah, you emailed me and I think I actually think I didn't add it officially to the agenda, but it's on the agenda, so.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, we have another person joining us and then Riley, I think you were on last month also, right?
A couple months ago, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think it's great that with Zoom, and I think in some ways it makes the meeting more accessible because anybody can join from anywhere. Although it's not like, I mean, we have 13 people now. We just have a new one. Welcome, Travis. We haven't officially gotten started yet. you know, it's comparable to the number of people we get at our in-person meetings. There's over 8,000 people that live in Kearns and hundreds or thousands more that work in Kearns. So I wish we could get a higher percentage of people on these meetings, but but at least we have this group. And then also I've been putting these meetings on YouTube, and we are being recorded, just so you know. So I mean, rarely does anybody say anything that wouldn't be appropriate, but my point is that it opens it up to more people who can watch it after the fact, and kind of lets them know what these Kearns neighborhood meetings are about. So maybe I'll go ahead and I was going to share my screen for the agenda, but actually maybe April, because you have something to kind of present, right? And actually you could share, if you have any kind of documents to share or PowerPoint or anything, you should be able to actually share your screen if you're interested.
Yeah, and actually my colleague Travis, who just signed on, will be presenting on behalf of this project. I'll be kind of backup, but yeah, Travis, if you're able, once we get to that part, then you could share your screen, I think.
Yep, I've got a little PowerPoint ready to go with some information for everybody whenever you're ready. So.
And you might need to get louder, Travis.
Yeah, this computer is a little tricky.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's set so that you can share your screen, Travis. So go ahead and you have the floor.
All righty.
Wait a bit.
Ranger, we don't do it. Now is he Ranger? Rangers do it.
We've been bombed by a dog.
Is that your dog, Susan?
No.
Whose dog is it? It's not my dog. It's okay. Dogs are fine. There's definitely been much worse bombings than that.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Great.
Come on in.
Hey, John, I don't know who that is. I can't tell, but John, if you could mute your screen, we hear the dog in the background.
Just,
Yes.
okay. All righty. So
This way. Yeah.
are you ready for it? So this is the Buckman Kearns Green Streets project. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. It's happening in the Buckman neighborhood as well as the Kearns neighborhood. It's a little bit more impactful in Buckman than it is in Kearns, but it should be a great project to kind of reduce flooding as well as some other native aspects that arise from a lack of green space. So environmental services is your sewer stormwater utility. We're going to be doing this project to upsize, repair, or replace sewer pipes and construct green street planters to manage stormwater runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots. And the sewer and stormwater improvements are going to increase sewer capacity, manage stormwater more naturally, and it'll reduce the risk of flooding and sewage releases into homes, businesses, as well as streets and the Willamette watershed. So why we're doing this? Many of the existing sewer pipes are around 100 to 120 years old, and they're deteriorating, and a lot of them are undersized and not equipped to handle the current volume that we have. So we're going to be upgrading and improving the sewer system in this area. It'll protect public health, property, and our environment. It'll reduce the possibility of sewage releases into streets and people's homes, like in your basement and stuff, as well as businesses. So the project overall is going to install more than 4 miles of public sewers. It'll also build 77 Green Street planters, kind of like you can see in that picture there. And that effect will be removing 7.1 million gallons of stormwater a year from the sewer system in the Buckman and Kearns neighborhoods. So here's the overall projects map. You can kind of see the Buckman neighborhood is getting a lot more of these facilities than Kearns, but there's still going to be a lot of impact that should hopefully result in a lot less water that you see. And there's a up close of the Kearns neighborhood, and these maps are available on the website as well. So how Green Street works, they collect stormwater runoff from streets, and they help protect and improve the efficiency of the city's pipe and gray water infrastructure. The green streets help prevent sewer backups and basements and combined sewer overflows to the Willamette River. The green streets also increase urban green space, and they improve air quality, replenish groundwater, and they even reduce air temperature. The planting plans are kind of cool. Property owners that have an adjacent green street to their homes are going to be able to have a say in kind of what goes in there. So there's going to be several items to consider, including planting design, like with trees and bulb types, and some will even have a choice of a tree planted outside the planter as well. So the construction, some of it will involve saw and cut that will remove pavement, and they'll excavate and place concrete forms for curbs and walls. They'll pour concrete and let it set, remove concrete forms and excavate to final depth, because there is going to be a lot of piping replaced as well as installation of these facilities. After that, there will be adding and leveling soil, protective matting or fabric if it's needed. They'll plant vegetation, which will happen at a different point in time. It's typically in the spring or fall. And it's also important to note that the construction of these facilities will have some periods of inactivity due to the fact that there's other contractors working on it, and planting will usually take place in either the fall or spring due to the fact that it's planting. So construction is set to begin in spring of 2021. And all these individual facilities that you'll see are going to be constructed during daytime work hours. So you're not going to have to worry about that happening right out in front of your house in the middle of the night or something. Noise is something that you can expect during construction, as well as vibration and dust, because that's what accompanies construction. There's also probably going to be some traffic delays because they're upsizing these sewer lines that are on these main streets. Driveway access. Your driveway access to your property will be maintained, but construction could impact normal use of your driveway or entrance to your business, but we'll maintain that access. And there will probably be parking restrictions due to the fact that equipment will be staged in certain zones to create a safe work environment. So what else to expect is equipment storage, which they may be staying there overnight, these big construction utilities, but we'll maintain service for sewer, water, and other utilities. You're not going to run into a problem of that being cut off during construction. The schedule changes and inactivity, like I mentioned earlier, there will likely be a couple periods of inactivity while they switch between subcontractors from building to facilities to planting and things of that nature. There's just some other variables that could cause some periods of inactivity between the construction phases. So the methods that they're going to be using, open trench excavation is a traditional and the most common method, and that involves excavating down and exposing the existing pipe so that it can be repaired or replaced, and then backfilling that trench. You can kind of see it in that picture to the right. Another method is cured in place lining, which is a much less invasive process. It's trenchless, and what happens is, in most cases, a section of sewer pipe that's several hundred feet long can be repaired in only one day. Work crews will avoid digging, and instead they access the sewer pipe through an existing manhole. They insert a flexible liner into the old pipe. The liner is inflated, and it's cured using ultraviolet light. That seals the cracks and restores the old pipe to near new condition. And it's definitely a lot quicker and a lot less invasive. And then hopefully this is I'm sorry, what was that? All right. A lot of hopefully this will not be a problem at this point in time, and but we will be taking COVID-19 precautions. The Bureau of Environmental Services can take extra measures to make sure that they protect the public, construction crews, as well as employees, and follow all CDC guidelines. So that's always going to be under consideration, and hopefully this, like I said, won't be a problem by that time, but if it is, we'll be prepared. So there is going to be some night work as well. Some of the project elements require these sewer line repairs and replacements within some of these busy streets, and due to the daytime traffic volumes on those affected streets, BS is going to request a variance to allow overnight construction at 5 specific locations, which I will tell you in a minute. The overnight construction will take place between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and it will not occur on Sunday. So the night work locations: Southeast 26th Avenue and East Burnside Street. It will be 1 night of saw cutting, 2 nights for installation of the pipe. The second one is Northeast 24th and Burnside Street, and that will be up to 3 nights for installation of piping. The third is Northeast 28th and East Burnside Street, which will be 1 night of saw cutting, 2 nights of pipe installation and temporary paving. The fourth is Northeast 32nd Avenue and East Burnside Street, which will include 1 night of saw cutting, 3 nights of installation of pipe and temporary paving, and then 1 night of final paving. And then the final location that they're going to request this night work noise variance for is Southeast 25th and Southeast Hawthorne. And that's going to be 1 night of saw cutting as well as 1 night of installation, including temporary paving. So the noise variance that I mentioned for this night work does include a public hearing, and at which the public has the opportunity to make comments and ask questions, and you can attend this hearing. If you're unable to attend, you can submit comments through email, and we'll make sure we can get that email to you. And the noise variance contact information and the hearing information will be available through mailer as well as email and on the website, which I'll also share with you. Parking removal, it's never a popular choice, but kind of have to balance the needs of the city with the environmental concern as well as parking. We know is a touchy subject in an already cramped area. So in the Buckman area, 93.5 parking spots are going to be removed as a result of the facilities. And in Kearns, only 19.5, which is more than we like, but we were able to reduce it significantly from the first drafts. But approximately 70 ADA ramps will be installed throughout the project area, so access will be a lot easier for a lot of citizens. So throughout this process, because we are at 90% design, we've had 1 open house, and we've taken a lot of feedback from the public. Some of the changes that have been made are 6 green streets have been removed completely from the project. 19 streets have been reduced in size. 5 streets have been relocated, 5 green streets have been relocated to different locations, and 3 of them have increased in size. So they took, the project team has taken into consideration concerns of the public as well as, and minimized the impact as much as possible to ensure that they kind of abided by what the will of the public was. We are having a virtual open house with someone who will be able to answer detailed questions and provide you with a little bit more in-depth information tomorrow between 6 and 7 p.m. It's virtual, and we're going to talk about the changes made since the last open house. I think January is when we had it. We're going to provide information on planting plans for the green streets and talk about construction as well as answer questions. You can register for it at the project website, which is listed right there, and I'll copy and paste into the chat as well. And yeah, that's the website right there. And then you can feel free to send all your comments and concerns to my colleague instead of me, April Hassan. And yeah, thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. And we can probably answer some of your questions if I can get out of here.
Thank you.
I know it was a lot of information, but.
No, great slides, and it's really cool how we can do screen share like that on Zoom. No, that's very interesting. Does anybody have any questions?
Travis, go ahead.
I was gonna
Sage,
say-
go ahead.
Oh, okay. This is Michael. Actually, I was wondering if you were going to update the map with the ADA ramp work.
I don't think we had a specific plan to put it in there, but I don't see why that's something we couldn't probably figure out where the ADA ramps are going.
Yeah, anytime that they are within a couple feet of the corner, then it triggers that they need to do the ADA ramp. So if there's a facility that's located along a corner, then it will be one that will be installed. If you have a specific corner that you want to know about, we could look at the plan sheets too.
Okay, thanks.
Are you separating the storm sewer and the sanitary and any of this stuff, or is this, we're still combined?
I saw your question about that, and I actually do not know the answer to it, but I'm going to find out. And once I find out, is there, should I email someone from the neighborhood association or?
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, because that's a really good question that I haven't come across, and I don't know. So
I
gotta
know
find out.
I know some of those sewer lines because I've had to get into them over the last few years.
Yeah.
And the 1890 brick lines are a little bit tough to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're combined, and they tend to, even after the big pipe, although the big pipe has helped,
Yeah.
recharging
guessing-
is still an issue in some cases.
Yeah. I'm guessing based on how much work went into the CSO, the combined sewer system, that they would be.
I have a question also. It looks like the Ankeny pipe second all the way to 31st. Do you have a time target on that? Because that has the plaza in it now. So if this is starting next year, the plaza's there, and you're ripping through 9 blocks of the street, that seems like a major impact.
So it might not be ripping through the streets. It might be able to be trenchless technology. Ideally, whenever they can do that, that's what they'll do. And we don't have a timeline yet. We don't even have a contractor on board yet. This is the 90% design, so it will go out for bid in the coming months. And then they'll be able to tell us more timelines and then work around any concerns that there are for space there. But hopefully they can do trenchless in that area.
My second question is a part of this project also for private landowners to do rain gardens? Because there was one round of that about 2 years ago here in the southeast part of Kearns. And I'm just wondering if that's a part of this project as well.
Sorry, Travis, I keep jumping over you if you wanted to answer. This one is all part of this project. They're all connected to the public projects. They're not private rainwater improvements. That said, as Travis mentioned, they do get to select their bulbs, but it's not a private project. Did that answer your question?
Not really.
Oh, sorry.
I do know that some of that private rain garden, when they were going out and looking at the facility locations, they had mentioned that it had reduced the need for as many when we went out and originally toured. So I don't think that it's tied to this project, but I think it did help in kind of reducing the need in this project.
Okay, thanks.
Dave, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, Dave, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I was on mute. Okay, let me repeat that. Thank you for presenting. Did you already post the link to your website in the chat? I know you had it in your slideshow.
I will do that right now.
Looks like Sage did too.
Oh, okay. Sage, I think, is actually Michael Fox
Oh,
on our board. But you know,
Yeah.
yes, Sage, I think that must be his wife, I'm guessing. What's that?
Little one.
Youngster, one of his daughters. In any case, anybody else, or maybe we should move on. We do have a lot of things to talk about. Welcome, Travis and April. Thank you for keeping us afloat on that, or keeping us up to date. And we invite you to join us in future meetings or email us. So thanks for your great work.
Thanks so much.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
We'll bow out now.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, and I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for kind of the agenda. Wait, I don't know if you can. Okay, everybody see my screen here? So this is this is our newsletter. I actually thought I would start by saying, if anyone ever wants to see our past newsletters, you can go into the website, kernspdx.org, latest news, news archive, and then click on see newsletters starting in May 2018. And then you'll get everything on MailChimp going back to 2019 of February. So I clicked on that, and then it takes me to our most recent newsletter, which has the agenda for today's meeting. So I thought I would actually just use this as the agenda. I kind of forgot to put that our last guest on, but I'm glad that they came. I thought we would run down them in order. If anybody has anything to add, we can certainly talk about other items. There's more items than usual, just because I kind of was just brainstorming. We also don't have a meeting next month, so our next meeting is September. So shall we dive in? Plazas and promenades. It looks like there will probably be a Flanders Plaza and a Davis Plaza. 28th Promenade may happen, but it's still being worked out. It's got, I believe the figure is 7,000 cars a day go down 28th. So in order for this to happen, that traffic would need to be diverted. There's a much higher bar, whereas Flanders and Davis Plaza, maybe I'll, sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and find a map to talk about that. And then, as many of you know, there's already what's being called Ankeny Plaza. Let's see, maybe I'll, so here's the Kearns neighborhood. I'll do this. Yeah, also on our website, we have this neighborhood directory and development map, which I made. Let's see, I think no, collapsed legend. There we go. So it's just something I did a while back that I thought would be fun to like highlight everything. In any case, so currently this block on Ankeny is closed, and it's called Ankeny Plaza. Many of you have probably seen it. They've painted it rainbow colors, and Ankeny Tap and then Gorge's Brewery have tables in the middle, and it's been closed. And I've been in touch with the owner of these businesses, and he said business is up 1,000% since they closed off this street. Which is part of the PBOT, I think it's called Better Business, or help me out somebody. Anyway, it's a PBOT program to help businesses. So Zach Katz of the Portland Promenades has proposed closing 28th between Burnside and Flanders. And he applied for a permit from PBOT, but that's Coca-Cola is one of the big issues there. And Daniel, who's on this meeting, has actually talked to Coca-Cola about this, and they really have tried to help. However, due to their trucks, they need access to this part of 28th. And Daniel, I don't know if maybe Daniel can talk about that in a second. What I want to say is, meantime, what's happening is 28th right here, which is Guero and City State, City State is right here. City State has applied to close Davis right here, so they could put tables. And then, meanwhile, up on Flanders, there's a restaurant here, a Peef, and then there's a brand new restaurant here called Montelupo Italian Market. They have applied to close Flanders right along here. And then many of you know Stammtisch has closed this section of Flanders for Oktoberfests. But they don't plan to close this, but this section here, they've applied for a permit. And then there's also a permit applied for right here. These seem to be a lot more realistic as far as not really having a big effect on traffic and yet allowing these restaurants to hopefully improve their business and not go out of business. Alma and Zim Zim have both gone out of business. I'm sad to report. Many of you might know this because they just couldn't make it work with the closings. So the current status is PBOT is hopefully reviewing and will possibly approve closure here and a closure here. 28th, Zach?
Dave,
Yeah.
just throw my hand up here. They are both approved and permitted.
They are?
Yes.
As of when?
I don't know, a couple of days ago when I looked, Monday when I looked. or
Where did
yesterday.
you look? Where did you see that?
They have, there is a website. It's on the new city website. It's hard to find. I stumbled across it. I'm sorry.
That's,
I'm not
that's
good at it.
amazing news.
There is a map on the new city website, the beta website, that shows
Oh.
all of the permits that they have approved. And actually, I talked to Greg the other day too, and those are both approved.
Well, that's news to me, and you heard it here
Yep.
first, everybody. Jim has an inside track to PBOT, I guess, which is great. But you also know where to look.
I'll try and find it and send it out.
Yeah, it's weird that it's so hard to find. I did at some point get a link, but I think there might be like at least more than one different maps of places that they've approved. I actually talked to Janet of City State today, and she hadn't even heard that it had been approved. So is it possible they approved it and didn't tell the people who applied? I don't know, but that's big news to me. Jim, I'm gonna have to tap you as a resource for these things. This is the.
I think I just found it. I'll try and post it on the chat here.
Yeah, if you could, that would be wonderful. And
Like I say,
yeah.
Greg said they were done deals, so
Yeah, I did talk to Greg of PBOT a few weeks ago, and he's the one who told me that these little side plazas, the PBOT would love to approve as many as we can apply for.
they're handing out tickets as fast as they can.
The other thing to be aware of is that 28th Street, a
Mm.
lot of the on-street parking is being turned into little extensions. So people are building deck-like structures. So 28th
Oh.
is probably left out.
Yes, the parking lane. There's that is another plan, part of PBOT's plan.
Right,
Which-
but that's happening. That's already been happening.
Absolutely. I've seen there's about 5 of them going up. City State is going to try to do that as well.
Yes, they are.
But they're kind of, scrambling. They're having to figure out, how to do it. The other thing is City State told me originally the sidewalk tables were shut down. And now what they're saying is they can reopen them if they space them apart. So in other words, for City State, they might be able to have both sidewalk seating and parking lane seating. And now, according to Jim, Davis has been approved. Thank you for that link. I'm going to click on it here. And then they can go ahead and set up tables in the street and hopefully stay in business. I also hope that the neighbors who live on those side streets will understand that they will be slightly inconvenienced. Okay, here's the Davis Street. Let's see what it says. City State Diner, permittee, and Guero. Okay, this is great. I don't know if this has any more information. But at
It
least,
doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't. But at
but
least it's pointing out where they
yeah,
are.
it's got these really cute little purple dots.
Yeah.
So let's look at this other one. And also we can look to see if there's more that we don't know about. Here's this one, a PEEF permittee. But then what do we have here?
So if you look, that one is whatever Adam
Montelupo.
Berger's,
Montelupo.
Adam Berger's new deal. He's been in the neighborhood for years.
So is this the parking lanes? This must be the parking lanes.
That appears to be that for Stomp.
Yeah, and then Guero is also doing that. Yeah, this is a great map. Thank you so much for posting it. Beulah Land is going to do it.
Yep.
La Buca. So the Sudra. Okay, so it's happening. You know, it's happening. It's just instead of closing the street, they're just going to take away parking. I think it's great. And you know, Zach isn't on this call. He, I believe, is still moving forward with trying to get 28th Avenue, but I don't know the status of that. Daniel maybe can speak to that. Daniel, do you mind taking over for a little bit and give us an update?
Not at all. I know
Okay.
that I've been helping Zach out a little bit with that. He is in pretty regular communication with PBOT to see if it's something that we can do relatively quickly to help out some of the businesses there. Again, this is just a temporary thing to try and help out some of the businesses. Of course, PBOT is more amenable to the taking over the parking lanes just because that's easier. It doesn't affect traffic.
Mm-hmm.
We heard directly from some of the businesses that's nice. It's obviously not as good as being able to take over the street. You know, they kind of learned that, or it's demonstrated with Ankeny Tap and Table with Travis that, you know, business is up over 1,000% just by being able to take over the street. So this is a way to not only just like keep our businesses alive, but also help them thrive. So just to make a long story long here, Zach is still working on this. I'm helping him out with this process. We're just in communication. We're not trying to push anybody to do anything they don't want to do. We're just trying to help open up 28th for the businesses, even just on a temporary basis, even just on a short-term basis. So it's still moving forward. We're just gathering more information still.
Daniel, what have you heard as far as, or tell us about Coca-Cola and the trucks and how that would affect 28th?
So Coke has been very, very amenable to trying to open up 28th. Unfortunately, they're pretty limited. We talked to them a whole bunch about different ways that the trucks could go through the neighborhood, and unfortunately, there's just not another way that they can go. So we have trucks exiting Cooch onto 28th, and then also the trucks exiting at their Davis Street exit right there, and they go north. Now, what Coke has said is that they are happy to stop having trucks use 28th a bit earlier in the day. So it would be around 4 p.m. that they would officially say no more trucks are going there. So if we were able to open up the street for the businesses for evening dinner service or Saturdays and Sundays when Coke doesn't have any trucks, they are more than happy with that. They said that it doesn't matter to them if we do 28th at all. It just is after 4 p.m. So it'd be 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. are the hours that Coke needs that space. Beyond that, they're happy for us to use that space with whatever we want.
Has anybody asked them about the front area? Because they have that grassy area in front, which seems to me, you know, modulo liability concerns. Seems like a great place to set up picnic tables and have people sit there.
You mean as in terms of having the restaurant serve people across I think there'd be a liability with having people cross the street to go sit there. Unless you're talking about if 28th is closed to cars, is that what you're talking about? And then having people...
No, just yeah. If you know if one could get around the liability concerns, both for Coca-Cola and I guess crossing the street is liability, then it would seem that space might be something to use, if that's possible.
I can definitely ask them about that. My guess would be that the restaurants would have a hard time having their servers cross 28th to deliver food, going back and forth. But I'll absolutely ask about that. It is a nice green space right there, so maybe it could be used for something. So that's a good thought.
Talking about right here.
Yeah, and Coke, I will say they have been nothing but helpful. So they definitely want to help the neighborhood, not just because a lot of the restaurants sell their products.
That's great. And you've also been working with Whole Foods, right? Sierra of Whole Foods.
Yeah, I haven't spoken with her recently, but I was talking with Sarah at Whole Foods about what she would be comfortable with in terms of opening up 28th. And she has also been wanting to be very helpful. You know, this is all on a temporary basis. So whatever effect this has on the neighborhood, we would learn from this temporary pilot project and see if it's even something that makes sense long-term. But even right now, it's really just help the businesses. Anyway, that's to say Sierra is in support of this. She has some concerns about people being able to get to Whole Foods to, buy groceries. But if we have this certain time limit where it was, Monday through Friday after 4 p.m., she's a lot more amenable to it. So.
But I've also heard that some people, perhaps PBOT and others, are concerned about the idea of having a street closure some days and not others because it would confuse drivers. And and then one other thing is, even if it's just on weekends or evenings, there is a lot of traffic that would have to be diverted from 28th. And according to PBOT, when I spoke to them, he said we would need to rent electronic signs, a number of them that would cost several $100s each to place all over the place to divert cars around the area.
Yeah. There would definitely need to be some logistics involved. Zach has actually been talking to a traffic engineer. I think he wants to hire one out of his own pocket, but he was talking to a traffic engineer to help come up with a plan to divert traffic to 20th and to Cesar Chavez, which are the bigger streets on either side in the east-west. There would have to be a fair amount of communication to divert drivers at that point. And you're right, there are some safety concerns. And the last thing we want to do is put in an unsafe position by opening 28th to pedestrians. There definitely we don't have all the answers for this yet. Hopefully we will get there sometime soon, but as of right now, we're just kind of continuing to push forward and gather support and more information wherever we can.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for all your help with this. I know you've been putting a lot of time into this. So
my pleasure. I just don't want businesses to I don't want more stores to go out of business.
I know. So. I think we have the most amazing restaurants and businesses in Kearns, and we want to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else want to add? We have a lot more things on our agenda to discuss. So
let me just throw out one or two things real quick, and I can't figure out how to post them here. I do have some freight traffic patterns and also parking utilization maps if anybody wants to see them. I don't know how to post them here though.
That could be great. That'd be great, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can put
I'll try and send a link to you, Dave.
Okay.
See if I can figure out how to do that.
When I put this video on YouTube, I'll try to copy and paste the chat into the comments or the description on YouTube, so that and then I'll add more things. So anyway, great. Well, it does sound like things are moving forward, not necessarily the way Zach had envisioned it, but I do think that we're going to, a lot of these restaurants are going to be able to start increasing their business. Let's move on down the list. The next thing that I have is the board elections and recruiting. We were actually supposed to have our annual elections in May, but we weren't comfortable having online voting. But now that everybody's getting used to the Zoom meetings and other neighborhood associations are having online voting and we're getting better turnout, I propose that we have elections in September for board members. We can always use more board members, and we have new people who are joining, like Susan and Daniel, that and anyone, and Jim, and anyone else is welcome to be on the board if you live or work in the neighborhood. And then the other thing is we just need more members in general. Members, I don't know if that's even the right word. We just need more neighbors to know about these meetings and participate. So this, I just wanted to, I guess, does anyone object if we have elections in September for the board on Zoom?
Nope.
No objection.
I don't object, but there's a lot of people that are on the board that aren't participating right now.
It's true. And I actually meant to personally reach out to the board members that have kind of haven't appeared in Zoom. I still plan to do that. There's about, half of us are appearing. Like on this meeting right now, I think we have 5 or 6 board members, but yeah, you're right. We have to figure out why. But given the situation, Zoom is where everything's happening. So, I mean, there's obviously other services besides Zoom, but it's what we use. It's what the majority of people seem to use. Actually, let me just get to that. I went ahead and out of my own, pocket, I paid for the $16, which covered last month and this month. I would vote that we budget $16 a month for Kearns, and it could be month to month. So there's actually, we wouldn't have to pay it on the months that we don't have meetings. So it would only be like 10, and actually sometimes it will span 2 months within that $16. So I guess my point is, does anybody object to the concept of Kearns paying Zoom around $100 a year so that we can not limit our meetings to 40 minutes? Any objections?
Oh, no way. You should not be paying out of pocket for this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I shouldn't be paying out of pocket, but how about our association? Can we afford $100 a year as an association?
Certainly. Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yes.
Yeah.
historically, you have had that amount of money pretty easily available in the communication budget.
Right.
Oh, I know. I just wanted to, as a formality, I just wanted us, I wanted to know if anybody objects.
We have it in the regular account too. We
Yeah.
have $6,000.
True, which we have been sitting on the entire time I've been on the board. But anyway, yeah, I just thought as a formality, I would just mention this. So we will, I think it's fair to say we'll go ahead and get an account so that, I personally think Zoom is amazing. The way that we could do screen sharing like that, there's just a lot of features it has. And I'm going to reach out to the people who haven't been joining, like David Champion. He had like 3 meetings ago, he texted me he was having trouble. So I'll try to figure out how to get them on. Anyway, I want to keep moving down the list if that's okay. I want to just talk, what's that?
This is Ben. I just wanted to, I can't stay for the whole time here. If there's anything else that we want to vote on, can we, I guess that's the next thing on the agenda actually, but is there anything else that we need to or have a quorum for?
I don't even know if we have a quorum. Let's see, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 board members. So we don't even have a quorum. So
okay. It's a moot point.
You don't have to stick around. Plus, you can watch it on the excitement on YouTube later.
For sure. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't.
No, I did have the idea that we could vote on a Black Lives Matter statement as a board. I still think it's worth discussing. And these votes aren't, they're not that binding anyway. I mean, we can still kind of have some sort of consensus on it without an official vote is what I'm saying. But so if it's okay, let's move on to this issue of Black Lives Matter. A lot of neighborhood associations are issuing statements on Black Lives Matter, and I feel like we should also, maybe in our September meeting. I just think it's important that we just officially acknowledge that Black Lives Matter and acknowledge how the police have been disproportionately killing and injuring and unfairly arresting African Americans and people of color and indigenous people. And, you know, I guess I would propose like a 2 or 3 sentence statement that just, we support Black Lives Matter. We support finding ways to drastically correct this issue. Does anybody want to say anything else about that?
I'm really in support of this, Dave. Thanks for bringing it up. Another aspect I think we can bring up is supporting Black businesses in the neighborhood. For instance, I know for sure Stupid Burger, which is on Gleason and 24.
But
That's
they
a Black-owned
closed.
business. Oh,
They
that's right, they
closed.
did.
I was so
So
sad.
I don't know of any
loved-
others, but we should.
I know.
If there are others, we should call them out, and we should identify organizations that are really leading the issue that you can point members of the community to donate to, whether monetarily or time, like other organizations have been doing recently.
We could also do some outreach too to promote the idea that Kearns is will promote and help promote things and welcome businesses.
I get, this is Josie. I think what we should say is that we support justice for everyone, especially concerning Black Lives Matter. That's what I would say.
That's nice. That's concise. That's good.
Thank you.
Well, maybe between now and September meeting, we can send out some emails back and forth to kind of come up with a concise statement that we can, hopefully we'd have a quorum and can vote on a statement, and then I would just post it to our Facebook and press release and, website, just to get it on record that we support the movement. And
I'd put it in the e-newsletter, though I have already been putting some things in that already, but I would add that statement.
Great. Hi, Rick and Kat.
Hey, sorry, we were having happy hour while we were listening.
Do you want to talk on this topic, or are you just kind of finished your happy hour?
About it, I would hate to see it go on to hold till September. So
I agree.
I would
Well, we're not having a meeting in August as we do every year.
Now.
What's that?
That's why it makes sense to just do it now.
Well, we don't have a quorum of board members. We could and we don't have
right now.
We don't have a statement written up. So I think we're still. I mean, I think we've already said everybody seems to be in agreement that we support the Black Lives Matters movement, and we strongly believe that Black lives do matter, and that all the injustices have to end. So, I mean, we do all believe that, but yeah, I think it's going to have to wait till September before it's more official. But I encourage everyone to get into some of our Google groups. And
well, so Dave, I might actually put what I was going to say in the e-newsletter for August, because for me that it doesn't end, and I still have to do a newsletter in August, so I think I'll put it in there.
Okay, I think no one will object, and we will support your the wording that you come up with.
Well, I'm probably going to say I'll get a pen and write down what I said so I don't forget.
Yeah, well, you can watch yourself back on YouTube if you want.
Oh yeah, I guess I can. Okay.
I think I'm still sharing my screen. I did create a YouTube channel for Kearns, and I created a YouTube page on our website. So here's our past meetings, and then this one will be on here too. And then you can always click on this YouTube icon here, and then you can see past meetings here. So, it's not going to win any kind of prize for traffic on YouTube, but it's just a resource for the neighborhood. And I know that some people like Sierra of Whole Foods watch, and different people. It's just, I think it's really good to have these meetings be public and transparent, so people can see what exactly we do here at Kearns. Okay, should we move on? There's actually, Jesse, you had posted the link. I want to skip to this one if that's okay. Jesse had posted this link, and I think you probably have some inside information about this. Would you be interested in, on the spur of the moment, talking about this?
Sure. So folks who, I've mentioned this in the past 3 meetings, I believe, and for folks who weren't here, what I linked to is an open house that PBOT is hosting for a larger project whose goal is to link Montgomery Park in what is now industrial Northwest Portland to Hollywood District. So Montgomery Park now there's no residential housing around it, but the zoning is going to change soon, and that it's going to kind of develop into like a new Pearl District. And the idea PBOT has is to connect it with Hollywood. So now there's not a direct way to go from Hollywood to Montgomery Park. So the idea is to connect these two. And as part of this project, there's 2 components. One is to potentially expand the streetcar from the northwest, where it exists now on Northrop Lovejoy Couplet up to Montgomery Park. But in our neighborhood, there's also a proposal to expand the streetcar out from the Lloyd District on Grandin and MLK over to Hollywood. And there's 3 potential routes that this is going to take. So you just saw one of them on the map that was up there. So that one of them, the one that is perhaps most pertinent to the neighborhood, would follow along. Well, there's actually 2 that go through the neighborhood. So one of them would follow Sandy. So yeah, just go ahead and leave it right there, Dave. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, will do. Okay,
so there's a couple of different options proposed now. So one would be that the streetcar actually go from MLK basically to, where is it? Is it Stark? Yeah, Stark, and then cut over to 12th, and then 12th turns into Sandy, and then go all the way up Sandy to Hollywood. Another option is that it would turn on the Cooch Burnside couplet, hit Sandy, and then cruise up Sandy all the way up to Hollywood. And then the third option, if you go back down by Irvington or Irving.
Oh, here?
And a bit south.
South? Oh.
Yeah. There's
okay.
one more.
Well,
I thought you were on a map, so I'm sorry.
I'm on, this is kind of a map.
Right there.
Okay, this one?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So the other option is that instead of going through Burnside or Cooch in like Southeast Portland, it would go by the Metro building. So basically cut across Irving, go along the Lloyd Boulevard to 12th, come across 12th, and then go down Irving into Sandy, and then up to Hollywood. And then the final option is to go through along a straight shot along Broadway. So there's 3 out of the 4 options are through basically the neighborhood going through Sandy. So there's an open house I posted into the chat. So if you click on the chat, you can take a look.
Yeah.
And PBOT is providing, and the contractors are providing a lot of information about the goals of the project. And they have specifics about how the different routes are going to be measured and how the metrics that they need to hit to prove a particular alignment. In particular, they're very focused on ensuring that the route meets equity targets, and they go into detail about how equity is defined. Specifically, it is people of color and low-income folks, and so they want to ensure that that's a priority here. I mean, that's at least that's the phrasing. Clearly, they're going to. This is also a tool for development, right? So we need to be aware of that and cognizant of that. So if people are interested and you want to have your voice heard by PBOT and the different contractors, I encourage you to take a look at the information that's provided in that virtual open house and provide feedback. I went to the original open house that was hosted at Metro. I have no idea when it was now because time is very weird. It was at some point, it was when you could go to a meeting in person, and I went to Metro and they had the potential maps out, and you were able to talk with the planners and the different planning groups And so I was able to learn a lot. One thing I should say, I was kind of interested in the Irving route, because I was like, what came up with this? Like, what's the idea? So if you know, like Irving, there's some pretty big parcels of land on Irving near the entrance to I-84, and I guess some folks they're interested in developing that. So right now there's a storage place that may go in at the corner of 12th and Irving. But if the zoning changes, or the zoning's fine, but if there might be a streetcar there, instead of putting just like a storage building there, which isn't really, terribly interesting or useful, they might make it like a mixed use kind of a place with office or retail and a home. And there's also like an old school, like 70s office park there. And so they're thinking if we do put the streetcar through there, maybe instead of having this kind of like low utilization of this pretty large area, it'll be the use will increase, and there'll be more people there. Also, going along with that is that it seems like there's plans to put a light at Irving and the entrance to I-84, because there's substantial backup sometimes of people at that stop sign, and it seems like there's some kind of back channel where there's a combined effort to want to put a streetcar along here and a signal there. So I don't have much information about that. It's just kind of like what the engineers.
Where was that? Where was that you were just talking about?
It's on Irving and whatever this, what 16th?
Yeah.
So there's
here's Irving. Yeah, there's Irving. Cool. Well, how are they going to decide between the three options?
Well, there's really like four
options
on the east side. Well, I don't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot of, they have a bunch of different metrics that are supposedly going into how they're going to decide. And I don't know. So I would point you to the information provided at that virtual open house, and that might provide more information than I can.
Dave?
Yes.
I had a chat with DJ Heffernan, who's the transportation guy at Sullivan's Gulch. And the Sullivan's Gulch and the Broadway Business Association, I'm sorry, I don't remember the correct name, are both lobbying the city, PBOT, very hard for the Broadway Wagler corridor. Just throwing that out.
Well, right, exactly. Like they probably really want it to go down Broadway, which would bypass Sandy.
Yes.
And we wanted to go. I wanted to go down Sandy, which would bypass. It's too bad it has to be either or. I mean, it's a shame to pit us kind of against them. Not that it would be like. But does anybody have a guess which way it will go, or have, more ideas along these lines? I mean, doesn't it seem a shame that it has to be either or? I mean, and like these routes, it looks like this is just going to go straight across, bypass Sandy. I do think Sullivan's Gulch is more organized, or they might have more lobbying power than we do. And like all the businesses along Broadway could certainly lobby for that. I mean, I could see the case for both. I mean, they both need streetcars. So, hopefully if one gets it, then it will later add it to the other one.
So the Broadway Business Association, whatever the proper name is, I'm sorry, is lobbying very hard for it. They want to reduce lanes on Broadway, travel lanes. And they've been lobbying pretty hard for it. They're lobbying for a streetcar extension there. Sullivan's Gulch is also their DJ, who I know, I'm sorry, is a planner, and he has been working on this for quite a while.
It seemed to me that I mean, is there a possibility there could be like a loop that could go along Broadway Weidler and then come back Sandy or vice versa? I mean, I can see there's a lot of things that the Broadway Business Association would want to help the businesses that are there, but Sandy has lots of open opportunities for development, more, I think, than Broadway does.
Mm-hmm.
I think you hit on a key point that's going to be taken into account is how much development can occur in choosing the alignment. The Broadway alignment is kind of hemmed in with Grant Park and Irvington.
Yeah.
And the Sandy alignment is only slightly hemmed in by Laurelhurst. There's a lot more of Sandy that's opened up. So I think that'll definitely play a part. I think a loop isn't great for transportation reasons, right? Because if you're like if a loop's only headed east on Broadway and you want to go west, you can't take the streetcar route. You got to wait for the bus. So I think trying to keep it in a single mode along the corridor is ideal. But it might be useful to drop that in as a hint to be like, hey, maybe check out both.
So
the counter argument, just to throw it in, is that Broadway is a specific, you could tie it to a streetcar. It's a specific length, ends at what, I don't know, 42nd or whatever it ends up there. And you've got a straight shot to the bridge. Sandy ties into a state highway, and through this portion used to be a state highway. But I don't think it is. I think it is only.
It is not a state highway. ODOT.
Not anymore. It got seeded. But you got that at the end, and that is a route that goes straight through for X number of miles to wherever it goes.
Well, so I guess I hope that some of us can make that meeting. Let me find it. Yeah, here it is. It's tomorrow at 6:30 to 8. Register in advance. It's on the link that Jesse posted. So maybe if some of us can join it. And now I'm guessing that it's just an information session. So it's not like, Jesse, any sense for the process for the public input and then the voting? Who ultimately votes and chooses this?
Yeah, it was hard for me to actually, so I was mostly interested in learning about the process when I went to the open house, and they weren't very clear. So I think it's kind of like at this, so they're going to build the Northwest first, for sure. And I think this is just kind of like fact finding and get a temperature of what folks are preferring, and also kind of like, yeah. So I'll say that it wasn't entirely clear yet thus far.
Okay, but in any case, we should definitely go to that session. Some of it. Does anybody plan to go to that tomorrow? Do you, Jesse?
Yeah, I was going to try to make some of it for sure.
Yeah, I'll try to make it too. It's this one here. And at least we can ask them these questions and they should give us some more insight. All right, well, that ties in. I got an email just today. I think I can go ahead and share this is on my personal email, but it's from Zeph Wagner. Jim, do you know Zeph Wagner, or Jesse, do you? He's with Portland Bureau of Transportation, so PBOT.
I do not know him.
This just came in today. He said Francesca Patricola, who used to be on our board, and she, I guess, works at PBOT, is talking about that they're applying for a grant for $300,000 grant to develop a corridor plan for Sandy Boulevard. The grant application is July 31st, and they want to look at the entire portion of Sandy. They're asking for community support, and they have this kind of canned letter here that they have, which we could vote on. On behalf of the blank Neighborhood Association, I'm writing to express our support for the Sandy Boulevard Civic Corridor Plan. This just came in like an hour before this meeting today, but I think it definitely ties in with what we're discussing with this. I think it would be wonderful if they get a $300,000 grant for Sandy Boulevard, don't you guys? I mean, Sandy, what a golden opportunity. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a hidden gem of Portland that hasn't been fully developed the way so many other boulevards have. Jim, I'd be curious your take on why Sandy has kind of eluded some of the treatment that has happened in other parts of the city.
My historical view of it is that is the original route from Gresham to Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a highway up to 205. I asked DJ this the other day, and he told me sometime back in the 90s, early 90s, the portion from whatever out to I-205 was ceded to Peabody. Historically, it's Highway 30 to whatever highway it is, from downtown Portland to Gresham and further east. So it's been a transportation corridor in the historic concept of that.
I'll just say the problem was ODOT. ODOT control.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you on that.
If you look at Powell,
Yeah.
why is Powell not like Division? or
Exactly.
Hawthorne? It's because ODOT is in charge. Why is 82nd not like Hawthorne? Because ODOT's in charge. Right?
Understand.
Anytime ODOT is in charge of a road, they make it a car sewer and not the kind of street that you actually want to walk on and have businesses. ODOT was the problem. And now PBOT's going to bring it up to par with some of the other nice thoroughfares that we have.
So it switched from ODOT to PBOT?
Yes.
At what point did it switch and how?
I don't know, but ODOT ceded it to PBOT, I think sometime in the 90s, mid-90s. Jesse, I don't know. You may know better than I do.
I can't remember exactly.
Well, yeah.
That's pretty close.
Process.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, very interesting. I find this stuff fascinating. And obviously we're all into this, and I wish we could get more of the public into this stuff because it affects us so much. And I feel like people, they spend a lot of time focusing on national issues and national politics where we have these things right in our own backyard that are, to me, way more interesting than, the Senate and, some of the things that are happening at a national level. I just had to get that little plug in there because I just find this local stuff, and yet it seems so relatively very few people pay attention to this stuff. And just trying to get people to go to these meetings is like pulling teeth, and and yet to me it's fascinating. I mean, it's our fabric of our neighborhoods and our communities. And anyway, I just had to get that little plug in. Well, we're almost done with there are a couple more things on the agenda, but nothing to, there is something, is Ben still on the meeting? He had to go. I have a kind of an exciting homelessness issue update. And what that is that we have a new member of our community who's an architect who has experience building tiny house villages. And she lives in Kearns. And she wrote me this, we had this nice back and forth because, there's this movement to create tiny house villages to help houseless people. And I personally feel like that is part of the solution, is to build these little villages that are like managed villages where people, yes? You're waving?
Yeah, I gotta go. Sorry, I have another meeting at 7 too.
Oh, that's
so
fine. That's fine.
Thanks.
Well,
Thanks,
it's been great having you, Jesse, and thanks for your contribution.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.
Cheers.
Yes, bye. Thank you. I just want to say this about the homeless issue. It is a big problem. I think everybody can agree, but I think that my personal take is that if every neighborhood could identify a few different places where we could create tiny house villages it would be managed villages where houseless people could live. And then we also have the Man House, which is kind of the opposite. It's a giant mansion where they're going to create 180 units, I believe. So anyway, I wanted to mention this concept, and maybe in future meetings, this new member, I'll look up her name, but I guess what I am excited about is the concept of specific projects that can reduce the amount of homeless people and provide a realistic solution to the issue. I mean, there's many aspects to the problem besides just houses. There's mental health, there's the economy, discrimination. Does anyone else want to talk about the homeless issue and what's been happening, or ideas to improve it?
Well, it's interesting that this had come up. Kat and I haven't been involved with this, though I was member of the board many years ago. But this actually specifically is something we're both very interested in. There's something I think we can really add at this moment, but I think there are things we'd like to be able to discuss and look at more with this, because it definitely affects all of us.
I mean, there's no doubt that homelessness is a huge issue in the city. And I know at Laurelhurst Park, which is a little bit outside of our neighborhood, I mean, there's the entire, annex with the playground and the tennis courts, the entire block is surrounded with, houseless people. And so it's just, and I don't know how many tiny house villages we would need. Here, I'm going to go ahead and share this. Julie Molnar is the person that I was talking with. And she said she has been involved with helping and supporting tiny house village builds since 2016 with the First Kenton's Women's Village location. This includes both physically building the tiny homes, designing them, and helping connect architects, contractors to villages to build more. So anyway, I wanted to talk about this on the agenda.
I think we should talk to the Kenton Neighborhood Association and see how it's working out over there before we consider anything like that.
That's a great idea. Maybe we could have someone come speak at one of our meetings, and
that would be good.
Say, what are the successes and what are the challenges? Okay. What else? I think we've actually covered almost everything. Graffiti, litter, and crime prevention. If I can just briefly say this, before the pandemic, I was spearheading efforts to clean up graffiti and litter in the neighborhood. Crime prevention, I mean, I had the idea, and I still have the idea of having patrols of just citizens kind of patrolling the neighborhood to kind of cut down on car prowlers and, observe anything, kind of keep an eye on things that are happening in the neighborhood. The city used to have a citizen crime, like anti-crime unit, where they would train neighbors on how to patrol the neighborhood. And I believe that was shut down by the current commissioner in charge of, ONI, the department formerly known as Office of Neighborhood Associations. Anyway, with the pandemic, it's really hard to deal with this. Have people been observing more litter, more graffiti, more crime in the neighborhood?
Yes.
With COVID? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a reality. So, and this ties into a little bit into Black Lives Matter and police budget, because they keep pouring money into the police, and yet whenever something happens, the police never do anything about it. They're like, oh, that we can't help you with that. Your car was stolen, good luck. So I think that it ties into the whole defund the police and reallocate those resources to prevention and different social work and other things. But I agree
that that money needs to be funneled into other departments that would service people better. But then again, I want to be able to call the police if I have a problem around my property with someone too, you know.
Well, that's just it. Yes, I think the police should be used in extreme situations, right? But if there's situations, there are so many situations where someone calls the police and then somebody dies that didn't have to die. And I think that I've seen this a lot. We need unarmed places you can call where the people show up don't have guns, and they're trained in different situations. The way the police are right now is they're highly militarized and they're trained, you know, very to kill, basically.
Well, I just had an incident that I saw in person because I live next door to Plaid Pantry, where the police came out, and actually the guy that comes to our meetings, he was one of the officers that came out to that.
Really?
Yeah. He smiled at me and I recognized him in his mask and everything. That's how I knew it was him. He knew it was me. But anyway, the bottom line is, I don't know the total incident, but I just saw one girl running and someone got hurt, looked like he had a broken arm, and there was some kind of fight over there with two groups of people. You know, it looked like it was probably racially motivated because, you know, there were, like I say, there was two different groups of people there of different ethnicities. So, you know, but I didn't see it, so I can't say. But I mean, it ended up they didn't do anything. And this one girl, she kept just, you know, saying a lot of different things. And, you know, I'm sorry, but I definitely don't, I want to be able to call the police and have them do something. I don't want, you know, to be left with all of that. The police left them there and they almost started up fighting again.
Well, that maybe what if there was another agency besides the police that was better trained in that particular situation when it's
well, but you got to look at it this way. Right now, the police's hands are pretty much tied to deal with homeless or anything else because, you know, their hands are tied right now. You know, well, and there's nobody to replace that area that's left as a gap.
Well, I think then we need more agencies whose hands aren't tied.
The best point she's making is that we're not in that space right now. There's a huge gap. I mean, we can't just jump to.
I mean, a lot of my neighbors are wanting to get guns, you know, because they're getting sick and tired of having to deal with a lot of different things around here. Yeah. You know, and I can understand what they're meaning by it because,
do guns really solve anything? They would just end up shooting somebody.
If you have somebody breaking into your house, you know, when you're sleeping at night, which can happen with no police protection.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to be. It's going to be more vigilante-like.
Well, no, it's we do need solutions. And I guess I just think that this ties in with the whole Black Lives Matter police reform discussion. And we need to find solutions that work better and don't result in people dying when they don't have to. Jay, are you still with us? Jay joined us.
I apologize to everyone. I had a little family crisis and had to leave my house. And I just got back.
No need to apologize. We're kind of wrapping this up. The whole thing is going to be on our YouTube channel, so you can watch the exciting meeting. No, we had some good things.
Okay, can I share a couple of quick things just with the land use review stuff?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'll make it really fast. Most of them are small potatoes. Someone is applying at 400 Northeast 11th. They want to, they're just going to replace some doors on their building. So because it's in the historical register or something, they need to let us know about it. Same thing with Benson Polytechnic High School. You know, it's going through a massive renovations, and they're asking for approval on a few exterior alterations in terms of fabric on the library addition on the outside of it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The one that's really, there's one or small one, someone wanting to put together 3 lots or number of lots they have at 30th and Stark. Applicant proposes to consolidate historic lots on the site into 3 parcels that are going to be used for the new Laurelhurst Village Group Living, which has already been approved. They're just technically changing the zoning on those lots for part of that process. But here's the big one. Dave, you and I talked about this a couple days ago. This is at Marathon Acquisition and Development, which have done a fair amount of stuff in the neighborhood, is proposing, they must have bought the site where the bicycle store is on 22nd and Burnside and the big parking lot behind it. And they're proposing a multi-story, 114 apartments, 4,000 plus square feet of commercial space on the first floor, yada, yada, yada. So that's a pretty big one. And that's, they've just started, and I can show you, I don't know if you can see it here, but the rough layout, let me see if I can hold it up. So it's basically a 5-story building that faces Burnside at 22nd, where the 1-story bike shop was, and then underground parking, and then behind it facing Ankeny is a 5-story building, and then east of that is a 4-story building. So it's 3 separate buildings on that parking lot / where the bike store was. And that's just been, I don't think it's gotten very far down the line yet. They're just letting us know that this is their proposal, and you know, they need to notify us and stuff. And so I'm sure we'll hear more about this as they begin all the application and permit process and stuff. And then just to set for a really brief financial update, nothing's changed. We have our very small fee for the host, for the Canvas host, which is $8 a month, and we've still got about $6,300 in our account.
I have something to add on the land use. I got a notice myself personally. The lot where the Lucky used to be, they're planning to do like a food cart thing there with beer and wine.
Where's that, Josie?
It's right across the street from me, on the corner across from Pam Beachy.
Oh, where the parking has been for the Opal?
Yes, right.
28 Gleason.
I tried to buy that lot.
Yeah, so that's another Bitar property.
Well, I'm just saying, but the problem is they want to have.
No, it's not.
I don't have it in front of me, but they want to have like 72 people seating there, which is impossible right now.
I'm sorry, why is that impossible?
It's impossible because there's not enough room. People would have to be sitting too close together. And they're going to fence the whole thing off, and they're going to be all inside with food carts.
Okay, thank you.
Because of COVID, basically.
I understand, thank you.
So
not COVID, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, I'll go back and look at this online and catch up, but is there any further update? Has the 28th full street closure been pretty much abandoned, Dave?
No, it hasn't been abandoned, but actually we just got breaking news during the meeting that PBOT has approved closing Davis and Flanders for like 100 feet off, or I don't know how many feet, but just the length of the buildings off of 28th. So a short span of Flanders and Davis will turn into plazas. Jim shared that with us during this meeting. And actually the restaurant owners didn't even know about it. So they'll be very excited to hear that that was approved. 28th itself is going to be more of a challenge, but almost all the businesses are building tables in the parking lane. Right. So that's something that's happening. And also some restaurants are going to be allowed to have some sidewalk tables if they're spaced apart from each other, which is kind of a new thing. They were told to close those down before. So those are the updates there.
Okay, thank you.
Jim shared a map that PBOT has, which I was doing a screen share of, which I'll put it, it's actually in the chat, which shows all the places that PBOT has approved for either parking lane closures or, plaza closures. But Daniel, who's in this, he's on the screen there, DJ Lyman. He is a neighbor who has been talking to Coca-Cola and Whole Foods about potentially closing 28th. So he gave us a briefing earlier about it. I know Zach Katz still thinks it's going to happen, and is pushing to make it happen. Whether it actually happens, I don't know.
Okay. Are those closures on Davis and Flanders temporary?
Until November 1st. So the whole rest of the summer and into the fall. And I hope that those residents on those streets don't object too much. It will inconvenience them, but it will possibly save the restaurants at the end of their blocks. So, you know, it might be good to do some more outreach. Daniel, one of the things Daniel also is good at is outreach to neighbors, Daniel, and we can share that. You know, anybody who wants to help communicate with the neighbors about those closures, I think it would be good.
Absolutely, I want to echo that. We want as much communication with the neighbors as we can possibly get, because it's always hard to reach people in their homes.
You know, I just had a crazy thought. Would it be appropriate if the restaurants gave some kind of like a 10% discount to people who live on that block for the inconvenience? Would that be okay?
I mean, something we can talk to the restaurants about.
Yeah, it's just
I feel like that would be asking a lot.
What do you think,
I know
Jim?
these folks, they got 10% to give you. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
They don't have it.
They don't have that margin. Well, maybe a free coffee. I don't know, but some kind of incentive to the neighbors for the inconvenience of having to
why
go around
weren't
the
the
block.
neighbors? I have a question. Why weren't the neighbors included in the beginning? You know, of the whole process, because they're if they haven't been spoken to at all, they're not going to be very happy.
Yeah, that's a good question.
They're going to be coming to the meeting real soon.
I think
September.
that's a PBOT question, honestly.
I have asked that question.
This was all done. Peabody has been doing this, trying to rush everything, because the normal process, obviously, as you guys know, takes 6 months to a year at the very least, like this. But these restaurants and these businesses don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying the neighbors didn't get any notice at all.
And I think that's definitely something that's a problem for sure, Josie. I hear you. Like, that's a problem. But this is where we're at right now, so we got to do damage control and ask for forgiveness versus.
I have discussed that with the city of Portland Peabody.
Do they have an answer?
Yes, they do actually. Their priority is to contact under the program, the Safe Streets Healthy Business Program. Their priority is to contact businesses, not people who live there or people who own property there. The priority is to contact businesses, and property owners are tertiary.
That seems, I don't understand, you know, I mean, businesses are important, but so are the residents. So
everybody's paying taxes and living or operating a business in the neighborhood in those areas.
But locals discounts have always proven to bring more business when you can isolate them, because they can also track the revenue. And it's proven true in like small coastal towns. And I'm from hospitality. And so I know that if you give discounts to locals, you do generate more business, and you also give a glad handing to, I'm sorry, we're inconveniencing you. So I would still recommend it. If you're saying they can't afford it, but it will pay for itself, because they're going to say, well, thank you for acknowledging that we're uncomfortable.
And I just threw out 10%, so it could be anything that works for them. But I'm just saying that might be a way to kind of ease some of the frustration from neighbors.
I agree. I think it helps.
So, Rick and Kat, are you involved in a restaurant in the neighborhood, or I haven't really gotten to know you guys very well.
Well, Jane knows Rick really well. They're neighbors.
Okay.
Live across the chain.
And he used to be on your board.
Okay.
Years ago, but I've been in the area for a long time. Kat's been here for about almost a year now, I guess. And she actually has worked in the restaurant, or I'm sorry, the hospitality industry.
Yeah, I'm a general contractor and interior designer for hospitality and high-end homes, and I'm really fascinated with the idea of tiny homes that you know take care of minority women and underprivileged housing. So I'm trying to pivot into that area, but I'm from hospitality and restaurants. I've done their design, and I hate to see anyone hurting in your community. And so I'm invested in like how I can support or.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining the meeting. Yes, Jim?
If you want to know about tiny homes and women-owned businesses, you might wander to 27th and Gleason, which is a women-owned business of small tiny homes. I mean, whatever I'm a big business real estate guy. Tiny houses aren't my deal, but that's probably one of the premier examples in the United States.
Now, is that a hotel? Or is
Yes.
that, yeah.
Go talk to Pam. It's like,
they're
in your neighborhood. They're huge.
Those are high-end, high-end tiny houses.
I understand, but she knows how to build them and what works.
Well, I'm a builder, so I can build them. It's about creating them affordable for people that don't have those benefits.
Oh, please talk to her.
Well, let's bring in some guest speakers in future meetings to try to figure out how we can get more tiny house villages and Kearns that can help increase the housing stock.
Speaking of which, may I suggest, since we're not, normally we don't have a meeting in August because we're all exhausted from doing the picnic and too many people are gone, but since we're into this new virtual computer world, I propose that maybe we meet again in August.
That's a great idea. Wow.
I want to be able to address the Black Lives Matter that was going to get pushed to September.
That's a mind-blowing idea. I just thought, hey, we don't have a meeting in August, but you're right. We're not going to do the picnic, and it's lower impact to have the Zoom meetings. So, Jay, you missed. We were talking about, we need to have our board elections. We were supposed to have them in May, and our current board is like a year and a third in. So we're due for kind of a fresh board election. Maybe we can recruit people like Kat or Jim or Rick, or lots of other potential people that have been joining these meetings versus anyway, so in theory, we could have a meeting in August and have a board election in August.
And have an online picnic.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know how that would work, but
make it fun. Gotta be a reason to join. Gotta have a hook.
Okay, that's right.
If only they could, have food passed over Zoom, then that would really. But anyway, well, great. I don't have anything to add.
Real quick thing, Dave, is historically, Sewell has asked or overseen the elections. I don't know if that's still in a.
Yeah, in May, Maria from Southeast Uplift did come to our Zoom meeting to see if we wanted to help with our election, but at that time we only had a handful of people. They've definitely been helping us, and they have been helping neighborhood associations do online elections. So I can reach out to them again to see if they can help us in August. So, all right, well.
Before you cut it off, I just want to say hi, Jim, and I like the beard. I just shaved mine off today, but it looks good on you.
Good on you. Us old guys, we get to do that now. Cheers.
Okay, well, great job, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and I'll put this on YouTube for our future pleasure watching, and we'll see you online, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye.